Oh, that's right. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to Vibes. Sorry for a little dead air in this morning. Nona's learning the new system. I haven't actually sat down and started using it yet. So just trying to learn it and also coming in sideways because, as most of you already know that you've been listening, I'm also got a baby on my hands when I deal with that all the time. Oh, I'm getting it back. There you go. I like hearing myself
fixed
go echo.
Well, I still hear myself. Hang on. There we go. It's because I had my computer on. Hey, good morning. I'm
Good
Tiffany
morning.
Carlin, Nona Reed, and we have the awesome Lisa Schwarz with us this
Lisa's
morning.
probably the only one that has it together this morning.
What? No, I mean, I can't hear anything, just FYI. So
Oh.
if you can hear me, that's great.
We'll work on that. I can't.
Are we all
I can hear
unmuted?
you.
I mean, it's not really about if we really have it together. We just got to look
Hang
like
on.
we have it together. We all look good,
Yeah.
though. Can we
I
just
was
say that? We all look great.
Oh, well, that's most important, right?
Right? There we go. I can hear myself.
Woohoo!
That was my fault.
No worries.
I turned when I had the show on. Real Talk was on yesterday. He had a guest on, and so I turned all the headphones down so it wasn't refeeding through the phone.
Oh yeah,
because there was a phone guest too. So hey, maybe I'll unhide our faces should anybody want to see us. So
here we are.
I don't know.
Hey, good morning.
I guess I look okay.
So I text Lisa and I was like, she's like, I'm here. I'm like, okay. I'm coming in really hot. I was like, Todd wasn't feeling this morning. That was unexpected. I was engineering the It's a Good Morning show from the house, which is why that knob was up.
Right. I forgot. Yeah.
She went
like,
live from a new coffee shop in Rio Vista.
Yes.
And see how I said it right, Rio Vista. It's only
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's how she said it. So I was like,
I thought it was Rio Vista.
Me too.
Not original. Yeah.
I mean, I am from here, and
I don't know. As
long
long
as
you
we say Rio Vista, she says Rio Vista, so I went with it.
I went with.
I was like, okay, I'm going with whoever lives closer.
As long as you say it with confidence, it's like reading those weird names in the Bible. I just say it with confidence, and everybody thinks I know what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I just say it like I know it.
And I can't say.
Well, I'm just thinking like
half those names in the Bible.
It's
not
Rio
Grande,
it's Rio Grande, and it's RIO.
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, look at her throwing some logic into this conversation.
It's the Rio Grande.
Okay,
just saying.
No, it's Rio Grande.
Well, I'm just.
That's hilarious.
Potato, tomato. You know. Rio Vista,
Illinois,
Rio Vista, right. Joshua.
And some people do say that.
Yes, I know. That's why I had to throw Joshua in.
Some people say what?
They call it
Joshua.
Joshua. Yeah.
Really?
Joshua.
Yes.
Something like that. Whoa, what was that?
I don't know.
That's just me.
Was that me? Oh,
nope. That's me. My computer. It was just doing a little blippy.
Trying to
jump in on the conversation.
It's because I was engineering a show from this computer from my home this morning, and I don't know. See, and Ron's texting me, so something must be wrong. Well, let's ask him. I didn't do it, Ron.
I didn't either.
And then he texts me. He texts me twice in a row.
Is he going dead air?
Yeah. That's pretty much what he said to me.
Right now?
No, we're good.
Oh, okay.
We're good. So he's on a delay because he's listening on the radio. And so he's just always checking for us. Anyway, good morning.
Good morning.
So I told Lisa I was coming in hot. I'm going to scroll back to what I said. And she texted me and said, #momlife. And true. However, I text her back voice to text and said, #unexpected life.
Yeah.
No, life unexpected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which just means that this morning.
Which is the same thing, right?
I guess so.
Right.
Well, life unexpected to me says, hey, I truly was not expecting what was going to happen in my life this morning. Unexpected life to me means life turned out.
Yes. Well,
I'm saying
life unexpected and mom life is the same thing.
Well,
true.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why
true.
I said
when you have kids
yesterday, I don't set the bar real high because whatever happens, and I'm not disappointed.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I have high expectations. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I'm like, I just live the day, and stuff's gonna happen.
even as I'm texting her or we're done chatting and I'm driving in and I'm stuck behind 10 cars and a big 18-wheeler, which seems like the new norm on Renfro now?
Yes.
Don't they know that they can turn on Hidden Creek and go to the highway?
Like go a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not the way to go coming from Mansfield. There's a way better and easier way for you to go.
Yes.
So I mean, it just is what it is, but I'm thinking, gosh, she's got 6 kids. I have 3. I'm like, there's just no,
but
and only 2 of them are at home right now.
Okay, to clarify, I only have 2 at home as well.
I know. I was like, I only have 1 at home.
I did get a phone call from 3 this morning who don't live at home. So,
well, my one that doesn't live at home, she did come home last night. So she's like, I need to go to the doctor. So,
but at any given time, and this is actually a good lead into one of the reasons that we had you here, that we invited you on the show today. At any given time, or at the most, how many kids? Because I don't know your full age spread. By memory. How many did you have home all at one time? What was the age span?
So Turner left when he was 18, so they would have been 18, 16, 14, 12, 8 and 6.
8 and 6. So when the youngest was born, your oldest was 12. So
11, 12, yes.
0 to 12, all in the house at one time.
Yes.
So what I was getting at is, how many years, were you doing the raging mom juggle with 6 kids?
A lot. Yeah. A lot. I mean, I was just thinking, so I mean, you do that math, was what, 7 years, 6, 7 years?
Well, I mean, really
forever. It feels like forever. Can I just say it feels
like, do we
like,
ever get out of that?
It feels like forever.
but truly it was 18 years.
Yeah, 18 years.
It's 18 years because your oldest was home until he was 18. So I mean, you had 6 kids in your home all at the same time. Do you need a drink right now? Is this bringing flashbacks? You had 6 kids in the house for 18 years.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting because this year is the first year that we've had all of our kids in the same school. And there was 2 or 3 years where we actually had kids in 3 different schools. So it's doing, when you think about the nightmare of school pickups and drop-offs, I was doing it in 3 different schools for 2 or 3 years in a row. And then of course
so calm.
and then we homeschool. Well, that's why I'm just like in a state, I'm just comatose. I'm like shocked by life. I'm in PTSD.
I never see Lisa like going frantically going, oh my God, like me, and she's like,
but to be fair, I didn't know you when you had all 6 kids in the house.
No.
And it's a juggle.
Yeah, it is a juggle. And, I mean, a lot of people don't know my story. So, Nona, I did have, I struggled with clinical depression and panic anxiety attacks for several years. And I think by the time I had the younger 2, God had really worked me through a lot of that.
That's wonderful.
But I would venture to say that if my 27-year-old was sitting in here and he would probably say, yeah, there were some crazy moments that mom had. There were some times we remember seeing mom just being like, okay, mommy needs a timeout, and going into the room and shutting the door and not coming out for hours. And just being like, I hope everybody's okay out there, So
I'll worry about it later.
Anyone bleeding? Anyone bleeding?
We had
call an ambulance.
We had a definition for what is an emergency, and it was profuse bleeding,
yes,
vomiting, or a fire. Those were the 3 things that constituted emergency. So when I was like, okay, mommy really needs time out, so let's go over the emergency rules. Because it's not, if I got to hang now, don't that's not profuse bleeding.
All right, exactly. And it's funny how they'll all be arguing, and you're finally like, I need just a time out, and you walk and you shut that door, and it's like they all go silent.
Yeah.
And you're like,
all of a sudden they just figured out.
Why couldn't you go silent when I was asking you all to be quiet?
Yeah.
Straight up.
So this is the first year in 27 years that I haven't had to do school drop-offs and pickups.
Me neither.
That's why I was here 10 minutes early.
Me neither.
I was like,
Dawson's homeschool
I
now.
Sleep till 7:10 every morning. To get after the 7 a.m. hour is like a big deal for me.
That's huge.
It is a huge deal because there's a huge difference between 6:59 and 7 a.m. for me. Like
this is the same for us this year.
About it, I'm like, I can't do it.
It's the same for us this year because Maximus is in middle school, so he's in 6th grade.
Yeah,
and doesn't have to be at school until 8:15 is the late bell, but he likes to get there by 8. And so boys aren't,
Yeah, they're easy.
That doesn't take as long to get ready
Yeah.
in the morning.
Should I or should I not brush my teeth this morning? I don't know.
Straight up.
Do they even think about it?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
really even a
usually
thought.
it's usually the bedtime argument, because in the morning he's like, well, at bedtime he'll go, I brush my teeth for like 5 minutes in the morning, Mom. I don't need to brush my teeth before bed. I'm like, but you do.
But yeah,
I'm
you
like,
really do.
You see that fuzzy furry stuff on your teeth?
Yeah.
It needs to come off.
Yeah.
And so that was actually
As I
our
Uh,
literally our discussion last night before he went to bed. And so so morning teeth brushing does get done. But it's just it's different this year.
Yeah.
Todd usually takes him in the morning, and I am lovingly blessed to be at home to get the 16-year-old out the door who doesn't like to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
So there's a little more of a challenge there.
Mhm.
So this morning Todd wasn't feeling well, so I was getting Maximus to school, getting back home, getting the show to a commercial while I left and got back, did that, and then I go, oh my gosh, it's 8:24 and Maverick is not out of bed. I don't hear water running in the bathroom.
I hear no sound of life.
Yes, run into his room. Hey, you have 6 minutes to get up, do whatever you feel like doing, and get your butt out the door so you're on time for school,
Mhm.
because he drives. So, so he
So
was
that
like,
was your morning.
yeah, and it went pretty good. He was like, he boogied, he hurried, and he went outside, and then I heard the door ding again, and he comes back and he goes, you're blocking me.
Oh,
no.
that's hilarious.
No, he goes, I'm not going to make it now. He goes, it's not your fault. I know it's mine. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
At least
yeah.
you, at least
That
you
was a good day.
own,
Yeah.
at least you
Yeah.
own that. So, but I ran outside
That's a
barefoot
win.
and moved the car. So, hey, that's what happened. And it's just life. I mean, it
Mhm.
is part of life.
It is.
I want to rewind a little bit and say that I appreciate you talking about the clinical depression side
Yes.
of what you went through, because that has been an important discussion. This
Mhm.
month is like packed full. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is Domestic Violence
Mhm.
Awareness Month. It is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
Just throw
all
it all into 1 month.
jam packed into 1 month, but they all kind of,
Yeah, there are blurry lines between all three
Yeah.
topics, right?
totally crisscrosses against each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm.
And, one can cause the other, and the other can cause something else. And it just kind of all, they all mix together,
Mhm.
cause and effect. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
so,
Absolutely.
but domestic violence was one of the things that you and I that were talking about it when I said, hey, can you come talk? Because you clearly have a little more, front row seat
Yeah.
to what happens in that environment. So talk about some of the effects of, I mean, first of all, Crazy 8 Ministries. If you want to, for those who may be first time listeners, tell everybody what Crazy 8
Yeah,
Ministries
sure.
is.
Absolutely. So at Crazy 8 Ministries, we come alongside people with the help that they need to move forward so they can be living in a victorious life. So there are two main services that we offer. The first one is biblical counseling. It is free to our community, so it is open to anybody. We do a little over $250,000 worth of free counseling to not just Johnson County, but all across the United States. So we do a lot of virtual, which of course has picked up more and more since 2020. And so we're very honored to be able to do that. To your point, we recognize that the government statistic that says mental, emotional, and spiritual instability is the number one cause for domestic violence, drug addiction, homelessness. And so for that purpose, we feel like it's a very important and very valuable service, and that we're coming alongside people with the free service they need in a very difficult time. Of course, Crazy 8 Ministries is known for our housing program. So I like to always kind of put the counseling up front, because it disappears a little bit. But the housing program is been around for 10 years. We have 4 campuses. One of the campuses is actually kind of 2 campuses on one. We have probably between 55 and 60 residents right now. It's hard for me to keep track of all the people coming in. We've just moved some people in. Probably about 35% of them are children under the age of 18. So there's quite a few there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids. And with COVID, it's been, because any one person in any of the shelters gets a positive, everybody has to stay home for 10 days.
Right.
So it's been a challenge I say it's been a challenge for us. It's been a challenge for the moms. It's been a challenge for, you think about, you're in a broken situation. You're in a season of trying to heal. You have your kids, and then you have 12 other women and all of their
Yes.
kids also doing the same thing.
Mhm.
So everybody has different parenting styles. Everybody comes from a different background. Everybody has different communication styles. So it's a constant engagement on our part to make sure everybody's communicating in a way that's healthy, which is part of the program,
Mhm.
right? I mean, these women and men, we do have men as well, come from unhealthy backgrounds, and so part of what makes the program work is that community living and learning how to work out that tension and learning how to communicate honestly in a way that's healthy and a way that's in love. So in a nutshell, that's what Crazy 8 Ministries does. So most of our, well, I feel like I can almost say all, but I'm trying to think through in my head. Most of our residents have some sort of abuse in their background, whether it's mental, emotional, and verbal abuse, or whether it's physical abuse, or whether it's sexual abuse. They all come from an unhealthy background where we're trying to a victimization of some sort. So sometimes when we think abuse, we narrow that down to just physical abuse. Of course, we know that it's so much more than that.
Mhm.
In my book, To Love and to Be Loved, I talk a lot about freedom and not being controlled. And anytime when I'm in a situation where I don't feel free, I don't feel free to disagree, I don't feel free to have an opinion, I don't feel free to walk out the front door, I feel unsafe in a conversation. Those are indicative of unhealthy relationship. And I will say this, that in the pattern of abuse and victimization, both people play a part in developing the
Mhm.
personality of that relationship. So for us, it's more about focusing on the person that has that victim mentality, what causes them to continuously put themselves in that position, because we hear all the time that they repeat that cycle over and over and over again. And every single one of us, even us at this table, we have a vice, a weakness of some sort, and that weakness will in some regard teach and train people to treat us according to our weakness.
Mhm.
So if I struggle with rejection, I have rejectable patterns, I put myself in rejectable positions, and I actually end up teaching and training people to treat me, to reject me. And the same thing is true for people with victimization. And so a lot of it is really trying to get them to own up to the part that they play in unhealthy relationships and unhealthy patterns, which can be challenging because it sounds like victim blaming. But it's not. What we're trying to do is we're trying to empower the victim and recognize, look, if you own the part that you played, we can empower you in that place, and you can cause a shift in your own life in the patterns that you've set in your relationships.
I that's a really important thing to talk about. I mean, you're not
Mhm.
victim shaming, but I totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it even more since I've been in these Nar-Anon groups that I'm in,
Mm-hmm.
because you're reading other people's stories, and you're you're learning from it. You're offering some assistance at the same time. You always want to feed and not just eat off of their plate. But that is a repetitive
Yeah.
thing that you see, because they're so used to being a victim of
Right.
their addict
Yeah.
in a if that's a
Yes.
healthy way of saying
Yes.
it.
Yes.
But you can see where the repetitive behavior is
Mhm.
for some of them, when they're saying, he did it again, he came home and he did this. And the question is, why do you keep allowing?
Right.
It's almost like you're giving the mental power back to
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And that right there is what's going to trigger them in the way they need to go.
Right.
I was just thinking of something that played through my life. It wasn't bad. It was just, you know, one time I felt like, and I'll say it was Jesse and I, and it wasn't, he's not, an overpowering, and I'm pretty vocal. So most people know that. But at one time I remember in our marriage, I was like, if I wanted to go have lunch or dinner with some friends, I would feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the way he would always react. So then I would start feeling very guilty that I'm going to go have dinner with my girlfriends. What's the big
Yeah.
deal? And then so I would be afraid to even say anything. So in our relationship, when we were really working on it, those times we were separated, that was one of my big things, and it was me getting my mental power back. And that was one of the things when him and I were starting to work on things again. I was like, this
Mm-hmm.
I can't feel nervous about telling you about me going and hanging with some girls,
Mm-hmm.
Um, I encourage you to go hang out with your guys. We all need girl and guy time.
Yeah.
But it's also how you react to it. And it took him, and he wasn't even doing it on purpose. He just was like, must be nice or something. I'm like, you can go out yourself. Now he doesn't do that anymore because that's something we worked on. And I had to give myself the power back because I had, in the years going through our marriage of 25 years, I let him then almost shame me when he really wasn't even knowing he was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are things like that we let ourselves get in a position too.
Yeah.
And so I had to find myself getting myself mentally back. And it just, that whole story was kind of bringing up, wow, that was kind of like my situation.
Right.
So, I mean, statistics, I mean, when you're looking at it from a statistical standpoint, not all mental or emotional abuse turns into physical.
Correct. That is correct.
But does it typically start that way? Or doesn't it, I mean, and there may not be any answer to this, or may not be any typical when you're talking about, and I'm talking about physical, on the physical side. Does it start from a control standpoint on a mental aspect and then roll into?
I don't know that I can say that, answer that 100%, but I can say what I think. I would say yes. I would think you would have to kind of capture somebody mentally and emotionally before they allow you to begin to abuse you, right? So I would say it would make sense to me that the victim, for lack of a better term, is the one who is kind of captivated mentally and emotionally by that person.
So when you're saying that, and I think you answered part of my question too then. So because in something you just said, when you allow someone to abuse you, you're giving them your power.
Yeah, absolutely you are. And again, I want to be careful here because I know we all do. We want to be sensitive, if somebody's listening and they're in that situation. Again, our intention here is not to victim blame. We understand it's a very difficult situation, but we do want them to be empowered.
Right. You can be empowered and take your power back. And we're going to talk more about that when we get back from the break here on JoCo Vibes.
Abnormal realities.
All right. So let's see. Oh, this is a cool one. You may affect magnetic phenomena that makes credit cards unreadable after you've been carrying them. Do you have a problem with your credit cards?
I do not.
He is not a slider.
I'm not a slider.
All right. And number everything that's no more numbers.
What are you doing? I'm just thinking about how much of a train wreck we are.
Give me a hug.
No, I'm not hugging you. God, how long is this show going to go? Can't believe you got to the end of the story and you went, humana. There are no more numbers. What?
I thought there's another one. I tried playing it out. It rolled over on me.
Abnormal realities. Every time I look at the clock, the break gets further away. I don't understand. With Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
The voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
got you. I think I do.
Am I doing it or you?
Sure, you can do it.
Hey, welcome back to the second half of the show here on JoCo Community Radio. We are the voice of JoCo in the radio.
JoCo Community Radio is the voice of
Johnson County, Texas, and Live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen, simply go to tuneinjoco.com where you can download the free app or listen live right there. We're also streaming simultaneously on Spreaker.com with select shows like this one streaming on Facebook. All of our shows can also be found on any of your favorite podcast platforms such as Spotify and iTunes. If you're going there, you want to look up the title of the show, not JoCo Community Radio. Check out our lineup on JoCoCommunityRadio.com. Thanks for tuning in. This episode and more is brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you.
You're so
She
good.
did so good.
The wind's happening right now. It's howling.
Yes.
So you got to have someone ready to fight in your corner when these
Wind
storms
can-
hit. And that's what Next Level Claims will do for you. Make sure your insurance pays you what you should. I'm Tiffany Carlin with Nona Reed and the fabulous Lisa Schwartz
Woohoo.
here on JoCo Vibes.
Oh, I love that ring, Lisa.
It is
That middle ring.
Oh, thank
the
you.
your middle one.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sorry, guys.
that's okay.
Squirrel.
Squirrel,
Bedazzled.
shiny
She's
things.
bedazzled.
Follow the shiny things.
And I'm not normally the one who follows the shiny things, but I was like, oh my God, that's gorgeous.
Was some of you may be aware, it is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, or just domestic violence. I don't think we know it's international, I believe. I don't know where that came in, except I was reading something. If you or someone you know is in trouble and you do need help, please call 800-799-7233. It's 800-799-SAFE. And you can get help. There's always someone out there that can help you.
Yeah.
If you're willing to talk about it and you want help and you want to get to a safe place. And I'm going to let Lisa talk about that some more, because Crazy 8 Ministries has been around for how many years now?
We 10 years this year.
10 years. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, this is the 10-year anniversary.
Yep, it is our 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you've grown from starting out with the counseling side
Yeah.
of your ministry to being able to house clients who need that step up to
Mhm.
get back on their feet. And you started out with being able to house how many people?
7.
7. And that was on one property, which has now grown to 3 properties.
4 properties.
Oh gosh, 4. Oh, that's right. We're 4 now. And you have the capacity to,
We have the capacity for about 65 to 70.
and you're almost full.
Yeah, we are almost full. We have two facilities that are under construction right now that we're remodeling, redoing, updating. We're always every year there is one facility that we're working on.
Okay. I just want to tell you that phone number I gave you is completely wrong.
Rewind.
Yeah, rewind. And I'm saying this because there was a pop-up when I hit.
So let me
what the
share. Let me share while you're doing that, while you're looking.
Yeah.
Let me share some of the
Go for
places
it.
that we partner with in regard to. So Crazy 8 Ministries, we are kind of that next step for somebody coming out of domestic violence. So because we don't have the 24/7 security and we are more long-term, so it's up to a 3-year stay. So when you're looking at somebody that's in that emergency situation, so they need immediate intake, they need immediate care, the places that we partner with, of course, is Johnson County Crisis Center. We partner with the shelter in Granbury, Safe Haven in Fort Worth, and we absolutely love working with One Safe Place in Fort Worth as well. One Safe Place, they are kind of like just a giant hub. I think they are the largest domestic violence center in the United States.
Wow, really?
I'm quite certain about that. I'll have to confirm that with my friend.
Now, I know they have the basement area now too
Right.
for teens,
Yes.
which is absolutely
So they've
fantastic.
just put an entire, basically you have a vision here. Michelle Morgan, Ken Shatter, of course, had this vision for what are all the moving parts that need to work together to get one woman out of a domestic violence situation. So from counseling to shelter to the legal assistance to help with career, to help with transportation, to help with childcare, all of those things, what you will find is a giant collaboration. The building's amazing. When you go in, it's built in around because they wanted to cultivate that collaborative feel. So you have different organizations and different departments that all office in one space for the same purpose. So it's really a phenomenal place to partner with. And so we partner with them. They come and use our facilities a lot to do danger assessments. If we have a client that we feel like is more than just, if we feel like they're really physically in danger, we're very quick to call them. They will come to where we're at, meet us with our clients where our clients are comfortable. And so we have a really, really great partnership with them, really love working with them. And they seem to have a really good success rate as well. So while you were doing that, I thought I'd throw
I
out
was
like the
correct
places.
anyway.
Oh, good.
I was right. It was just weird because after I put the number out there, I said read the number. I then read about cybersecurity on there, and it was a pop up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the wrong number. but it is correct. And if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, it is in the comments as well. But it's 1-800-799-SAFE. And if you're in immediate danger, of course, call 911.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of things. I don't know if you guys watched the Netflix series Made.
I'm not kidding. Call me sick, but Sunday, it was Saturday or Sunday, I started it and finished it. The season
watching,
1.
Yeah.
I binge watched the whole thing while I was cleaning my room.
Yeah.
Which says a lot about how much I had to clean my room.
So it's crazy because we were watching that with our kids and my daughter was like, is that really right? And I was like, that's actually very accurate. So some of the barriers that she hits, like she can't get, subsidized housing unless she has 2 pay stubs. She can't have, and
it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy.
But it is the most accurate. Absolutely accurate.
Well, okay. Can I say this though too? What I love to go ahead.
So I say all that to say, for people who are not in domestic violence, it's easy for us, and I'll say for us, to sit here and say, you just need to get out. You just need to get out. I think when you watch this, it opens your eyes to the cluster F that it is to try and get out. And the services that are available out there, get in line. And a lot of people don't realize that you can't apply for subsidized childcare unless you already have a job. That doesn't make sense, but that's the reality that we live in some of the government housing and some of the government assistance.
Yes.
And so I'm not here to bash the government, but I am here to communicate the reality. And so I want to be sensitive to know, like, it's easy for us to sit here and be like, you just need to get out, walk to your neighbors, all this and that and the other thing. And most abusers have everybody snowballed.
Oh, totally.
They have everybody snookered. And they will convince you and they will convince other people that you are the crazy one. And so that can be very difficult. We have several clients right now where the wife appears and seems to be kind of a little crazy, but is convinced that her husband is that could actually legit be true. He could be driving her crazy.
Right.
And so those are the kinds of situations where we partner with those other organizations. We recognize, like, where are we an expert at and where are we? So we are not, and I want to say that, like, we are not the experts in domestic violence. We deal with it by default. We get people who are coming out of that situation. We're dealing with more of the mental, emotional effects of it and really trying to restore and rehabilitate so that they don't go back into it. But we partner with those people that are more that emergency space. So I need to give a shout out to those places that really are, like, right in that, showing up on the scene when a domestic violence situation is taking place.
Right. And it's an escape.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that show up because it really does. It shows the step by step, and it shows the mental and emotional stuff that this girl in particular went through, and you can literally see.
Yeah.
This is what they're thinking when they're handed a stack of papers to fill out.
Yes.
And and all these papers are,
and you got to have it all done by tomorrow if you want.
Applying for SNAP, apply for this. And she's going through, I don't want to give it all away because you really do need to watch it. But as she's whipping these papers through and she's reading it out loud in her head, and then you can see it on the papers, each document to her says, I'm a loser. I'm not worthy.
You suck.
I mean, And
that's what she's seeing as she's reading these. And it's interesting, when you take a look at, so we've obviously done a lot of research in dealing with people in poverty and some of the do's and don'ts. And so when you're in an emergency situation, whether it's, oh my gosh, I just got evicted, or I'm eluding somebody who just beat me, or I'm eluding somebody who's been controlling me, I'm just a narcissistic. So what I love about this show is he never actually physically hit her. And so it was difficult for her to prove that he was abusive because he never put a hand on her. He would throw things around her. He would yell at her. He would say things to her. He certainly controlled her, took her phone away, took her car away, all of these things.
Access to the bank account too.
Took the access.
She had no money.
Here, let me help you. I'll take care of your, all these things. And so that's a very narcissistic tendency. So that's one of the things I really loved about that show, is that he wasn't actually physically abusing her, but when you watch it from the outside, you're like, that is abuse, and that is 75% of what we're dealing with.
Well, this is so interesting, and again, I can't help but go back to being in the Nar-Anon group, because this has helped me so incredibly much. And honestly, it would help a lot of people, even if you're not going through exactly what I've been going through, or exactly what someone else might be going through. It does help you all, give you an understanding of it, and especially what gaslighting is.
Yeah.
And so when you watch Maid, he gaslit her. He gaslights her to her, and then he gaslights her to the friends, to his mother, who was his abuser, basically, mental and emotional abuser. And then, almost to her own family. He works the circle. It's all her. She's the one who has the problem. I've never touched her. And so all of these people around her are convinced that she is this, it's all her. She's making it up in her mind. This is an abuse.
And we've done a lot of, you're talking about the paperwork and stuff like that. We've done a lot of research on, again, like dealing with people in poverty. And it's a scientific fact that the higher your emotional level goes, the lower your decision-making skill gets. So when you think about somebody that's in that situation and they do walk in, and you're handed a bunch of paperwork, it is extremely overwhelming. So that's one of the things that we're very sensitive to. Our intake process is kind of in stages, right? So that we're not giving them all the paperwork up front. So the first one is just this simple jot form where we just want to know kind of the basics. And then Paige will give them a call and we'll talk with them over the phone and answer a lot of the questions verbally and having that conversation. Then when we bring them in, if we're going to bring them in for an interview, then there's that next level of just 2 or 3 pages. But we're super intentional. At one point, because there's necessary information you have to get from people, right? We need to know, do you have a felony background? What kind of meds are you on? What kind of history do your kids have? I mean, there's all kinds of things for safety issues we've got to get. But if you put that all in one document, it's overwhelming. So we have it set up to where it's kind of done in stages, and much of it is done with somebody sitting next to them and kind of verbally filling in the spaces for them instead of just throwing all this paperwork at them, because it is extremely overwhelming. I am what I would consider a sane adult at this point in my life. I hate paperwork.
Oh yeah.
If I'm sent something that's more than like 2 or 3, when you go to a doctor's office and you sit down, it's it just feels so monotonous and laborious. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this right now. Or I just did this last month. Why do I have to do it again? Why do I have to fill out the COVID thing every time I come in here? I was just here last week. But even when I'm in my right mind and I'm not in an emergency situation and my life is somewhat put together, and I say all that in quotes, it's still laborious to fill out paperwork like that.
It is.
There's not very many of us that think
especially when it's repetitive.
But it's the number one thing that they say not to do when you're dealing with somebody in an emergency situation in poverty, yet we see organizations doing it over and over and over and over and over again. So it's one of the things we've been really sensitive to. It's like, oh, this is more than 2 pages. It's too much.
Well, I'm curious too. I mean, when you're coming from from an aspect of poverty as well, is how many times have you has someone been handed a stack of papers to fill out and they're undiagnosed dyslexic?
Yes.
Or they
just can't read.
Or they can't read.
Yes.
Period.
100%. And that's why we have.
And then what do you do?
Yeah. And that's why our residents have case managers that they meet with weekly. And that is the majority of what our case managers do. They help them fill out that FAFSA form. I mean, who could fill out a FAFSA form, right? I mean, this poor girl, when you saw her out on the corner, and I was like, my own sane teen children needed help with that kind of stuff. And here she is in, again, that emotional level so high, but yet she has this wherewithal to make these decisions and fill out those forms. And it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot. So that's one of the reasons why we have case managers that meet with them every week, because when they're filling out a job application, sometimes job applications, and they have to do those psych evals. And I mean, it's a lot for somebody who's trying to move forward, and emotionally they're already in a hot state.
Well,
Mhm.
and I again, going to the show, Maid, again, if you're just joining us, Maid is on on Netflix.
Mhm.
It's a must watch. And
It is so good.
very, very, it's eye opening and
Mhm.
it's entertaining. It's
based
funny
on
at
a true
times,
story too.
And so that's where I wanted
Sorry.
to know that, because I was just going to ask you that, because I didn't know. But just thinking back to the show, not only is she going through this, but she was she's filling out and going from desk to desk to desk in this place of, getting all this stuff in order. And she has a mentally ill mother
Yes.
talking in her, literally physically there and talking the entire
time.
And
Oh,
she was good at, silencing her out, because she
Yes.
had to. And then again, and
and
a
my
2-year-old
daughter was
daughter.
like, "Oh my God, be quiet!"
right, a 2-year-old daughter. Yeah. Like,
And I mean, there was like, you're just watching the scene, you're kind of feeling the crazy in
yes,
your own head.
completely.
You know what I mean?
I know
One of
you're
the
out of the
things-
loop right now, because you're going to have, but
yeah,
you're going to
I
go
know.
watch
I'm-
it.
One of the things I loved about this movie, and I think
Mm.
is a key to moving forward out of domestic violence, out of any situation, is throughout the entire movie, you see this thread of her passion,
Yes.
and which is writing, and it
Mhm.
becomes her anchor, and it becomes her lifeline that keeps her grounded. And I often say that the opposite of depression is a loss of purpose, or the loss of passion. And so at Crazy 8 Ministries, I believe in any situation, whether it's poverty, domestic violence, mental, one of the keys to overcoming and moving forward is not just focusing on healing from your past, but what lights your fire? What really helps you tap into, ooh, I found myself right here. So you could see her when she was writing, it was like, okay, here I am. You know what I mean? I'm right here. Where she would kind of ground herself, and she would connect with the passion of her heart to be able to really write and be able to just stir up that fire inside of her. And so I think, it's important when we're working with people who have had that stolen from them, have been cut off from their passion, have been cut off from their purpose. That's one of the first things we do, is we really start talking about what is the nugget inside of you that really makes you tick.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have that. We're
Mhm.
all designed with purpose. We're all designed with passion. It's a part of our creation. And so for us, there's a delicate balance between healing in your past, but also lighting the fire for your future. And so, I often tell people, a moving or a train that is still, if you put a penny on the front of its wheels, it can't start moving. But once it's moving forward, it can go through a brick wall. And that's the power of momentum. And that's the power of passion, because passion is what motivates us,
Mhm.
right? So there's nothing more frustrating in life when you just don't feel motivated. You know,
Right.
people are like, well, what do you think would motivate you? And I'm like, well, if I knew, dummy, I would be doing it. Right.
Right.
So when we talk about intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic motivation, what we're trying to do is we're trying to stir up an intrinsic motivation for life, for them, for their value, for their purpose, that they are here for an intentional purpose, and putting all those things, all those barriers aside. What we want to do is we want to find that nugget of fire inside of them and really start blowing on it and fanning it and starting to bring it to the surface. Because in the end, her writing is what got her finally out of all of it, including her mother. I was so happy at the end that mom didn't go. I was like, please don't take mom with you.
Yeah.
I love mom. I love mom. Sweet lady. Love the personality. Do you know that they're mother and daughter in real life?
Yes, I did know that. I did know that. And
sorry, Nona. Nona's like, hey, here I'm out again.
she's like, I'm going
Well, I
I'm
already
going to
have
work
it.
and watch this at the
Hey,
same time. You already got it up?
She's going to be
Already-
watching
Yeah.
it while
Look,
she works
That's
today.
what I said.
We actually talked about kind of binge watching it with our residents.
I
I own Moretti's, and so
yes.
Brad and
Which,
I
by the way, we have not talked.
Congratulations, Jess.
Have not talked. I have not mentioned it once yet. And you know how hard that's been for me, because I've been
You've been kept a good
I've been on the
secret.
backside
you
of
kept a
the
good secret.
process the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, when? And then I was multiple times while we've been texting off and on over the past, month. And I kept meaning to ask you, like, when can I say something about this on air?
We're good. We're
and
good.
so, yeah.
So,
So Moretti's popcorn and olive oils here in
Mhm.
Burleson, if you did not know, is now owned
Yes.
by
Brad and Lisa.
Schwarz.
Yes. So we are excited because we employ a current resident and a past resident.
Oh, awesome.
And so they have both been watching Made. So it's been fun to have conversation with them and being like, oh, I'm so glad that they're putting that out there and how difficult it is. And my point in all of this is what we don't want people who are in a situation of domestic violence, what we don't want them to hear us saying is, you just need to get out. You just like we recognize it's not that easy.
Right.
We recognize that it's not that easy, but we also want to say to you, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So we want to acknowledge that it's not easy and that you feel stuck, you feel trapped, and you legitimately are stuck and you are trapped. But all things are possible with God.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So tap into, and it was interesting how God brought people in her path at just the right time to really move her forward. And so
the lady at the shelter.
Yes.
And what I love too about it, they took this show, this series, and it's a short series.
It is very short. You can binge watch it one day.
Well, and is that it? Is that going to be the only season?
I don't know, but I was hoping they would go on with it.
It said a short series, so I feel like it may go into another season.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping, because I'd like to see some follow up to it, because one of the things that they use this show to do is to talk about some of the statistics.
Yeah.
And statistics show that it takes seven times.
Mm-hmm. That is accurate.
7 times for a
Leaving your
victim to
abuser.
completely
Mhm.
leave.
Yep.
They'll go back and forth because one of her new friends in the shelter, well, I'm
Goes
giving the
back.
whole thing
That's
away.
okay.
Can't help it, but she goes
Great,
back,
now
and
I
then
want to watch.
No, you do.
she she runs into her on the street, and she's with her abuser, and she has to pretend like she didn't even know her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sad that hurt her deeply for her friend.
Yeah.
And so it affects people when
Mhm.
you do see that. I mean, and you have to understand that people aren't always going to say the right. If you are a victim right now, and if people are saying the wrong things to you, it's just because they don't know how to help you.
Absolutely.
And they deeply care about
Yeah.
you. But there are these types of conversations that are happening so that we can help people.
Mm-hmm.
We can help people help you
Yeah.
get out of your scenario, and ultimately it's your own choice.
Yeah.
To empower yourself.
Yes.
To get up and go.
Yeah. I think that's the first thing, is you have to recognize that you're worth more than that.
Absolutely.
So for some people, it's their only frame of reference. They don't know any differently. And so they have no idea. A lot of people are being gaslit and they don't know it. Or they think that's all they're ever going to get. And so they choose to settle for less than best. And that's not in our design. We're designed to be treated with honor and with respect, and to be loved purely and wholly. And so that's what breaks my heart, is when people choose to stay in that place, which is a lot of the case. A lot of times, and you can see where there comes that place in the movie or in the show where you kind of wonder, gosh, where she runs into the friend, and it's sad, but I'm like, but she's looks good and she's healthy and she's being taken care of, right? And so you can see where in their mind where they would be like, well, she's better off than I am right now. Because in that scene, her friend, even though she had gone back to her abuser, when it comes to the actual resources, she was in a better space than the maid was.
Right.
And if you're not in your right mind, what are you thinking in that moment?
And she does think, doesn't she? Kind of, it does trigger her.
Yeah, like, gosh, she's doing better than I am. Maybe I should go back to my.
I should go back to.
I had a place to live. At least I had at least I had, my kid had a bed. You know what I mean? And so it is a very difficult trap. So again, I just want to overly communicate. We want to be sensitive to people. We understand it is not easy, but it's not impossible.
I want to say this too, and this does not mean that any woman who does not know their financial situation is in an abusive relationship, but it is important to know your finance, your what is going on in your family.
Mm-hmm.
So if your husband pays all the bills, and you're like, I don't need to know what's in that checking account or anything, because he pays all the bills, I'm good. He gives me an allowance. And I'm not saying that you are in an abusive situation when I say that. However, I'm going to tell you that it is incredibly important that you do know what's going on financially in your household at all times.
Well, from a legal perspective, if something happens,
you knew where I was kind of going. Yeah. I mean, if something happens, you have to know what's going on.
Yeah.
You have to know oh, what if he up and leaves you one day? What if
he up and passes away?
Passes away, and
Because
you-
I literally know someone that happened to.
Yes.
She didn't take care of any of that. And she was lost and had to learn all that.
Mhm.
We've got a little over a minute, and because you are the spiritual advisor at the table, because I feel some women get trapped in some of that. Well, he's taking care of it all because the Bible says the man is the leader of the family.
Mhm.
Give me your perspective on
You're
that.
going to throw that out there in 1 minute.
Yes.
Well, I do think that there's the Bible does also talk about a mutual submission, and there is a part of being taken care of. But if you're feeling controlled and you're in the dark in a lot of spaces and places, then that's really just not a safe space. There's not a mutual partnership. So one of the words that Brad and I talk about all the time, we want to feel partnered with one another. And I know enough about the finances, and it's important to him.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't care about that, Brad. And
Right.
he's like, but babe, if I, you need to know this, you should have shared note that has your passwords on it. Both your names should be on your bank accounts. I mean, legally, this is what partnership looks like. And so marriage is not dictatorship. You can be submissive and still be in partnership. So I'll be
Absolutely.
sensitive to those who come into that theology. That's great, but there's still a partnership in there, and you should still be in the know, because if something does happen, the state will not care.
Nope.
Right.
They
will
won't
not.
care.
That's right.
You will not get your money.
Thank you so much for joining us today to
Absolutely.
talk
Thank you for
about
having
this.
me.
We'll have you back soon. We've got a lot
Love
more
it.
to talk about.
Absolutely.
I know it. Have an amazing weekend, guys. There's so many things going on. You have
November 6th, Night of Prophetic Praise. November 13th, The Bride of Christ, Cleveland Family Fellowship. They can go to my website.
go to Lisa Schwarz LLC.
Lisa-Schwartz.com.
That's it. There you go. Thanks for joining us.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Hoping to unify the Democrat ranks and salvage his economic